our educational symposium with the superintendent. We're making tremendous progress and look forward to engaging more robustly in the next few years on that. We have the lowest owner move-in evictions in 20 years, the second lowest in the last decade of Ellis Act evictions, only 1,536 evictions total last year, which is not insignificant. We've seen historic amount of investment in homeless housing. We've gotten 5,963 human beings off the street since we started. That's unprecedented in our city's history, and I'm proud of that. And we're going to continue to build on that record, continue to build this city and try to unite this city across our differences. And at the end of the day, and I'll close with this, nothing makes me more proud than a city that understands its fate is connected with the fate of others, a city that doesn't focus on its differences as much as we unite around our things that bring us together, our common humanity. This is the birthplace of the United Nations. This is a city that celebrates that diversity every single day. And of course, we've done so in rather remarkable ways, and I think very proudly, on the issue of marriage equality and gay rights as we continue our legacy to lead not only the rest of the state, but the rest of the nation, and for that matter, the world. So I'm very proud of where we've been, but I'm very excited about where we're going, and I look forward to engaging you in dialogue today, but more importantly, over the next 90 days, and hopefully for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Okay, so we got Maxine, we got Brian, we got Shona.
You can put me on last.
Okay, Brian, Maxine, Shona. Yeah, I'm going to look.
Just get everybody.
Just to start on left and go across the room here.
Michael, Ted. Okay, anybody have an
Paul, Melba's Ted. Did you get Paul?
Well, I got Paul. Okay, it looks like a Paul, but it is. Okay, Maxine.
Mr. Mayor, thank
Yes.
you for coming. I want to just tell you that, I've worked as a prostitute for 19 years.
Yeah.
And pretty much plan on working for another 19 years.
Okay.
And I appreciate that you have been, fairly transparent with your position on prostitution and some of the information that you've come forward with,
Yeah.
unlike the other departments that I've sunshine ordinanced many times over,
Okay.
which would be the police department and the district attorney's office.
All right.
So I'm just kind of baffled by how it is that you can be so Republican, if not downright Christian right on the issue of prostitution, when you are so progressive on the issues of GBLT and being self-determined and, having equal rights, equal marriage. But, there's nothing in this questionnaire that recognizes prostitution as a respectable occupation that needs to be self-determined.
Yeah, I don't know. I won't categorize my position from an ideological perspective, except to say that I have a strong position. I respect your right to do what you're doing. Please respect my right to disagree with the premise that prostitution should be decriminalized. I don't agree with that. And, I probably understand the issue with more acuity because of the time I've spent with organizations like SAGE, where I've sat down with people that have been involved in prostitution or getting out of prostitution, and I've come to very strong conclusions. I've been very involved in the issue of child trafficking in San Francisco.
Okay.
We are trying to close down, I candidly say, a lot of the massage parlors in the city because of a lot of human trafficking, and I don't think that has a role or place in this city. And seeing the effects on a lot of these women. And with respect, I appreciate some people will have this as a chosen profession. But my own personal experience, which doesn't come close, I imagine, to yours, is that the vast majority of people would look to something else to do in life, given the opportunity. And I don't want to condone or advance policies in the city that don't project that concern about the realities out there on the streets and street corners of our city. So I feel very passionately about it. I'm not going to hide behind hedging on this issue. I don't believe in decriminalizing prostitution.
Okay, Brian.
Mayor Newsom, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming to talk to the club. I appreciate you coming by.
Thanks, Brian.
And as you know, we've been experiencing a lot of funding cuts with HIV/AIDS across the nation, but especially hard hit in San Francisco.
That's right.
And when you couple that with the disproportionate targeting for evictions that people with AIDS, especially in the CAFs, are experiencing, we're having a really tough time. And with the Board of Supervisors AIDS housing plan group, we come up with almost up to 14% of people with AIDS are homeless. And so that's a substantially disproportionate group. And then when you layer in the negotiated end of the Ryan White Care Act in 2010 and its rewriting, all of our history since 2000 isn't moving in the right direction, so it doesn't give me, I'm concerned about what happens in any potential rewriting, and I was wondering, where are we at, where are we going, and how are we going to deal with this?
Well, Brian, I got to tell you, this is really what's at stake in this mayor's race. You need a partner with the federal government to fight these Ryan White care cuts. And that's exactly what you've had in the last 3.5 years since I've been mayor. You got someone with a fantastic relationship with Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, who's been a champion on these things. We would not be in the position we are today as it relates to Ryan White resources had it not been for Nancy Pelosi's efforts and advocacy behind the scenes to stop some of the hemorrhaging. This year I went back on 2 separate occasions to meet with legislative leaders in both the House and the Senate to advocate to get some stop-loss language. We thought we had an agreement, so did Nancy Pelosi and Feinstein and Boxer about 6 months ago. They reneged on that agreement. 30+% cut, disproportionate to any other municipality in the United States. Most, in fact not all, had no more than 9% cut. Here we are in San Francisco, 30+% cut. So we worked aggressively with Nancy's office, went out and met with congressional leaders that we were asked to meet with, including the folks that administer the program, and made a strong case that his actually helped us address this in a significant way, because Nancy Pelosi was successful in getting in some of the early bill language some money that would actually put us in a position with the money that I put in the budget, working with the Board of Supervisors, Duffy and Amiano, would actually put us ahead of where we were last year.
Which is still 50% behind of where we were at.
In terms of HIV and AIDS funding. So that gets us to that point. What you're concerned about is where we're going next and how we move forward. And we want to do more. We always want to do more. But I happen to think when you look at our homeless programs, you look at our housing programs, you look at the unprecedented amount of housing, supportive housing for people, you look at some of our efforts as it relates to...
Give him more time.
As it relates to our efforts in affordable housing for people, again, at all income levels, seniors, families, et cetera, a subset of those people with HIV and AIDS, that you're going to see that we're making a lot of progress and moving in the right direction. We're investing historic amounts of money. I put $217.4 million in the budget for affordable housing this year. The board added back $10 million, and then it was interesting, took $1 million of the 10 for other priorities, which is suggestive of the fact that there are other priorities, and that's what's difficult when you actually have to balance a budget. And so those are areas that are going to help support the LGBTQ community.
That's okay, let him finish.
I appreciate all the investment that the city is making, and my experience and some of the outcomes that we were looking at with our data group with the housing plan showed that appropriate marketing and outreach to the HIV/AIDS community for all of these providers who are building all this housing isn't really happening, and we're going to be having a housing fair here on the 25th, and I could use the assistance of your office to make sure that every city-funded nonprofit housing provider in San Francisco has a table at our AIDS and HIV housing fair so that they can do their marketing and outreach to the community.
I think it's a great idea. By the way, Supervisor Duffy and I have had very specific conversations. In fact, Amiano Duffy and I, they came in about 3 months ago talking about your report and how we can fund it. We want to get through this question of whether or not we're going to get the backfill on the HIV and AIDS cuts from the feds, and then we'll have the excess dollars. And then we were looking, in fact, we had a conversation looking to direct them as it relates to your concerns in the direction of housing. Of course, again, that's just the beginning, and we certainly look forward to spirited dialogue moving forward, but I think it's a good thing.